Hello, can you hear
Hello?
me?
Oh, uh, hey, Ryan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. All right. So, you ready? Or
Yeah. What are we what are we discussing today?
I have a transcript right here. I'm okay.
Okay.
All right. So, and hello, everybody. Welcome to the Insight Podcast, Insight Plug Podcast. I'm your host, Destiny Hopt, and we are here with my guest, Ryan Marth. He is a film composer, and he's composed for award-winning features, television, documentaries, short films, and etc. And he has recently scored for a new film called Through the Stars, which is holding its world premiere at Holly Short Film Festival's screening at TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood, August 11th to the 20th. So, welcome to the show, Ryan. How are you?
Hey. Good, thank you. Well, that's quite an introduction. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. So, let's start from the beginning. How did you get your start in film composing?
It's kind of a long story. I actually didn't start film composing. I got my start playing in bands, writing and recording records and touring. And I spent about 10 years on the road, just playing across the country, and had a lot of fun doing that. And then I'd say probably around the age of 24, 25, somewhere in there, I decided to, I didn't want to live like a pirate. That's kind of like the pirate's life, just like
Yeah.
going from port to port in your van.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't want to live on friends' couches, and, I wanted things like health insurance and, a real job and, some more
Yeah.
stability. I wanted to get married and, that kind of stuff. So, I started making my way into film and television. So from there, I got an internship at the ABC affiliate where I'm from in Seattle, and I started running teleprompter. And from there, I had experience in audio production from making records, and so from there, I kind of just started asking people, "Hey, my internship is up in 6 months. Can I just watch what you do and learn
Mm-hmm.
how to do what you do?" And I kind of caught on in the audio booth since I knew I knew my way around an audio board, and so I started running audio for newscasts, and then I just kind of got lucky at the end of my internship. The main audio engineer there had retired, and so I already knew how to do it, so they hired me, and so started really working in television audio from there. And I worked there for about 4 years, and then I had an opportunity to go work at a studio doing music. And so that's was really my love and what I wanted to do. So from there, started working at that studio and getting my feet wet scoring, which was a completely different animal than writing, you know, albums. It's a different language, it's a whole different thing. So started doing that, and did that for about, I'd say, probably 3 to 5 years. I worked with a different company, had partners, and worked with that, and then been out on my own since, and just been going at it from that point on.
So, why are you passionate about mixing and mastering? Like, what is it about the composing that attracts you to the sound and stuff?
Yeah, well, I guess that's two different questions there. I guess the composing element of scoring film, I like that because it's a form of storytelling through
Mm-hmm.
music. I mean, I think from the outside you might assume that it's just, hey, I get to write music and then I kind of just shoehorn it into this film and everyone can hear my music, which is kind of like a beginner's way to look at it. Really, what it is storytelling. It's like anything else. If you go out with the camera and record a scene with actors, it's the same thing, but you're using instruments, and you're telling the story. So wiring yourself into the story and composing that way is a very satisfying way of storytelling, which I feel suited to. I love all the other forms of storytelling, but my eyesight's not the greatest, so I was never the greatest with the camera. You know, my background is in music and telling stories through music, whether it was through albums that people would buy or, you know, which later turned into scoring film. It's all storytelling, and that's the draw to me is figuring out what is the story here, what are we trying to tell, um, composing the music for that story, helping the director and the producer and whoever's involved in making this film or television series, helping them tell the story and elevating the film with a score is very satisfying. That's kind of what draw me to it. And as far as mixing and mastering, I mean, that kind of just goes with the territory of, you know, you don't always have the budget for a full music department, especially if you're working on scrappy independent films, and you kind of have to wear a lot of hats. And so, knowing how to do that on my own has been beneficial. And again, I think that's storytelling too. I mean, how you approach a mix and how you approach a master is all very specific to what exactly you're trying to say with your music.
And that would go into the next question. Um, when you're developing and the process with composing for you specifically, so you read the script, is it with the director first, or you just grab the script and kind of brainstorm in the sounds you're thinking of creating?
Yeah, I guess the process is different depending on the project. So lots of times I've done it. I mean, I've done it a bunch of different ways. Um, I suppose the correct answer, I'm using air quotes here.
Yeah,
The correct
right.
answer is that they kind of give you either an almost locked picture or a locked picture, and then from there you would kind of watch the film, and then you would have what's called a spotting session with the director or the producers or the studio or whoever it is that's calling the shots.
Hmm.
And then you would just kind of go through the film scene by scene and kind of talk about, oh, music's going to go here, there's no music here, this is what we want the music to sound like. But I've also done it on many other like scrappy projects where, yeah, I've been sent a script and I've just read the script and started writing music beforehand before they've even shot anything. Some directors prefer that because they like to have music on set. They like to have kind of the world building of the music done beforehand. And it's not final music, but you kind of get like a good start and you're exploring ideas and tones and color palettes of what the music's going to sound like. So I guess there's no real right or wrong answer. I mean, I suppose the quote unquote right answer would be you'd be as close to picture lock as possible and then you do a spotting session. But the process I've found, I mean, I'm sure there's other film composers that are further along in their careers than me that might have a different answer. But for me, what my experience has been these last 10 years has been all over the map. It depends on the project.
Right. Like if you were writing, say, a score for a ancient Victorian scene, you would play instruments that was used within that time frame, right?
Maybe. I
Okay.
mean, what's cool about telling stories is you can do whatever you want. I mean,
Right.
um, that movie, Marie Antoinette, I believe is the name of it, with Kirsten Dunst. It was
Okay.
directed by Sofia Coppola, and they used a lot of modern music in that film. I mean, you could do whatever you want, which is the cool thing about art and film is you could make the music whatever you want. But yes, your point stands that like typically when you're watching a Victorian film, it's going to be a lot of, you know,
Or an instrument.
string quartet, piano, led scores or whatever, you know.
And for who are your film score giants that you were influenced by or you enjoy listening to?
Yeah, I have. I mean, it's quite the long list, and it's in no particular order. I mean, I view all these guys kind of the same, but I really like. I suppose everybody would start off. Well, most film, not everybody. A lot of film composers would start off with Hans Zimmer, who's kind
That
of like the
house.
giant in the industry. I mean, he's scoring everything,
Mm-hmm.
and you know he gets a lot of critical acclaim for good reason. I mean, his score for Dune was incredible.
Hmm.
But I also really love Alexandre Desplat. I also really like uh, Thomas Newman. I really like Dustin O'Halloran. Johan Johansson is awesome to me. I mean, he's since passed, but his score for Sicario was just like out of this. It was amazing. It changed a lot for me artistically. He also did the score for Arrival, which I really, really liked. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a few of them. A lot of film composers would also list John Williams in that, and no shade to John Williams. He's obviously one of the greatest living film composers and film composers in general. But he has a very specific, highly orchestrated score, which is scores which are always great. But I mean, like Jurassic Park, Star Wars, all these like amazing film scores. But to me, I kind of like the more non-traditional sounding scores. And I mean, I know I said that and I listed off Alexandra Splat and Dustin O'Halloran, which are very kind of classically, Dustin O'Halloran does a lot of film scores that are very like Chopin piano, beautiful piano pieces and stuff like that. And same with the Splat. But I for the most part, I tend to go with the more heavy hitting kind of electronic infused with orchestra type of scores. Yeah, I mean, James Newton Howard is another amazing composer that I really like. His film score for The Village, the M. Night Shyamalan film, was really amazing. I feel like not a lot of people talk about that. I mean, they did. I mean, it was a big film score when it came out, but I feel like more people should be talking about that score. I mean, years later, it's still an amazing film score. But yeah.
And what are some movies right now or from the past you would want to contribute or would want to have made a score for?
Any type of, I mean, I guess it's more it's not as specific as that. I just love films that have a unique approach of storytelling. I mean, anything that's trying to do things differently. Any film that's got a unique angle or a unique story to tell, outside of the box. Those are the types of films that I really am interested in, composing wise, because I'm not in general a large fan of rules. I don't really enjoy rules. I don't like following the rules. I like kind of finding new ways to do things and having fun in the creative process that way. So any film like that has more artistic freedom, I've never scored a Marvel film. I don't know what that process is like, but I would imagine you have to get, 78 levels of approval from 48 different people wearing suits and ties. And that, I would do it and I would have a blast. I'm not, no shade to Marvel. I think they
Mhm.
are amazing, but I'm just saying like, uh, artistically, the things that kind of tickle my brain are the things that are just more like, what can we do that's kind of weird or different or unique. So I really like the more indie films side
Yeah,
of things. Again, you might hear this and think that I'm saying I wouldn't want to score a big studio film or
production.
something like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like, I'm more drawn to freedom of
Yeah, and
expression.
all those rules you have to. Yeah, I know. A creative. That's an offense to creative people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there is creativity in having rules too. I mean, here I am fighting against the rule I just made for myself. I'm kind of proving my own point that I hate rules. But if the other side of that is like, if you give yourself constraints and you give yourself a box that you have to create within, that can also be a very creative endeavor.
Right. You
Having
learn the
to
rules, then break
create
them.
with inside this small little box, you might think differently. I only have like 3 instruments. How am I going to make a score with this? Or, there's a very set palette. There's this Marvel film and it's got a very set palette of sounds that people expect to hear when they see a Marvel film. That can also be creative as well. So yeah.
Oh, so are there any books you would suggest to any of the people interested in growing in the knowledge of scoring, or is it just you pick up instruments and kind of find the sound?
There are a lot of good books. Anybody can do a Google search and look up books, but my recommendation would be to just listen to other film composers explain their process and how they go about it. There's a lot of really great videos online. I mean, you can go online, speaking of Hans Zimmer and Dune, and you can watch, an hour of him explaining how he went about creating the score with his whole music department, his band, his musicians, working with the director. There's so many great resources online right now where you can just listen to these people, the giants of film scoring world, just talk in great detail about how they score and what their process is. There's also great documentaries out there. There's a documentary, I think it's just called Score, which is all about film composing, and they follow, you know, different film composers as they start a film and, finish it. There's lots of great stuff you can watch and learn. As far as somebody who wants to do it professionally, there's a lot of different ways that people go. I know a lot of people will just move to LA and try and get in a studio and, as an intern and work their way up. That was never my approach. Again, maybe because I don't like rules. I was just like, I'll just figure out a way to start doing it on my own. I mean, you don't need permission from anybody, right? You don't need to go down to LA and get into a studio and, try and impress somebody there and get their blessing to compose films. Like, go meet filmmakers and ask them if you can score their film. And if it's your first film, say, hey, I'll score your film for $5. Or if you're a friend of mine, why don't we go make something for fun, and then I'll score it and I'll learn how to do it. And just start creating and having fun and exploring sounds, and listen to film scores and go watch a lot of movies and listen to what the music is doing. A lot of the time when you watch a movie, you're not really thinking about the score. You're just kind of like watching the film, and the score is kind of informing what you feel, and what's on screen is informing what you see. But if you start really paying attention to what the music is doing, you'll start learning that language of film composing, and how composers tell a story with their music, and how they approach different scenes, and when they choose not to put music in. I mean, I feel like that's a very important lesson to learn for a new film composer, is when not to score. There's nothing worse than watching a movie which is just wall to wall music. I mean, I think that cheapens the film. So learning how to pick your moments, learning, I think that's the most important thing to learn when you're first starting out, is just the language and how to speak it. And this is assuming that you have music theory knowledge and you know your way around writing a song or writing a tune in the first place. If you don't know about that, just you start learning an instrument and start practice writing songs, and then from there start learning different music theory, scale mode formulas and stuff like that, and different ways to write within those scales and chord progressions. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go about this. In any creative field, you don't really need permission from anybody. If you're the type of person that would feel more comfortable going to school and taking courses on it, do that by all means. That wasn't me. That wasn't really my path. I kind of had a strong background in music to begin with. But you kind of have to know what your sensibilities are, who you are as a person, what's going to give you your best shot at success. And some people need more structure and the experience of going through courses, or the experiences of working in a studio as an intern. Like, if that's you, then just know you got to know yourself, and you just start doing it.
Yeah. So you're also you scored for the movie Through the Stars. Can you tell us what uh maybe what the movie is and how you got connected with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting story. Through the Stars is a 16-minute short film that's kind of a proof of concept that I actually wrote the script for that and executively produced it with a producing partner of mine, Lisa Carr. And from there, we just kind of put together a team and tried to get filmmakers together to do this crazy idea that I had. I'd never written a script before. I'd never written a film before. I'd scored a lot of films, and I just kind of was thinking, if I could score any type of film, what kind of film would I score? What would be exciting for me to work on. And that idea just started rattling around in my head. And um I started reading scripts. And again, kind of my mode of operating as a creative person is just start doing it, see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? And so I just started doing it, and I started writing a script and getting feedback from friends, and reaching out to other filmmakers that I had worked with in the past and seeing if, hey, is this something that you would want to maybe explore with me? And from there we built out a team, and went out to New York and shot it, and had this incredible team, a director, Ariel Danziger. He's mostly he's done mostly commercial work. He's shot big campaigns, stuff for people like LeBron James and
Wow.
Gatorade, and he shot music videos and all these, VMA nominated stuff. So just gathering a group of friends and saying, hey, what would happen if we got together and tried to create something for us, something creative and fun and special. And so that's what we did. So to answer your question, the story just follows a young girl um whose father has mysteriously disappeared, and her family and the world around her believes him to be dead, and she believes he's still alive. And she goes on a journey and builds this mysterious device that she believes can reunite her with her dad. And yeah, it's a drama with elements of action and suspense, and some fun sandbox of quantum physics thrown in there for a good time. Yeah, so that's what the film's about. And we are premiering, I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but as we're recording this, it'll premiere next week in Hollywood at the TCL Chinese Theater,
Mm.
at Holly Shorts, which is an Oscar qualifying film festival. So we're starting our film festival run with that, and we'll be trying to develop this film out, and potentially have hopes to turn it into a television series or a feature film down the line. But that's kind of the overview of Through the Stars.
So thank you. So to wrap up the show, I was going to ask how did you and the writer of the film come together for the soundtrack? But you,
Yeah, and I'm kind of the writer of the film,
right,
which was really great because I got to kind of make my own rules,
right,
which is becoming a theme of this podcast, isn't it? Kind of
Make
doing
up
some
your own rules.
psychoanalyzing on the way my brain works. I hate rules. Um, yeah, but so the writer of the film doesn't always, I mean, the writer of the film's not involved generally in how the score turns out. Usually what happens is the writer delivers a script, his or her script,
Mhm.
and you know, once she finishes the script and hands it over to the director, it's over. It's like, she's like, I'll see you later. I'll take my check. The director or the producer generally have their hands on what the score feels like. So while I was the producer as well, I did have some control over how the score turned out. But every good film composer is a collaborator. If you're trying to do this on your own, it's going to be a rough ride. You're never going to, first of all, your score is never going to sound as good as it could as if you had input from your director. Second, if you're not a good collaborator, nobody's going to want to work with you, because filmmaking is a team sport. This is not a one
One man
person,
show.
yeah, it's not a one person show.
No.
And if your director can ruin a film, but by themselves, but in general, a director can't make a film great by herself either. It's a
Right.
team sport. So um that goes for what I'm trying to say with film composing. So even though I did write the script and I was the one of the executive producers, I took input from anybody that wanted to give me input. So the director, the editor, and me largely were dictating how the score was going to turn. I had an idea of what I wanted the score to sound like. I wanted fun keyboards and old analog keyboards, and I also wanted some some orchestral sounds to it. I really wanted long pulls, deep pulls on the low instruments of the orchestra, basses and cello and that kind of stuff. There's violin in there too as well, but I wanted more textural, long, deep pulls of the orchestra mixed with analog synthesizers. So it kind of turned out like a mix between something like Blade Runner and Stranger Things.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
little, it's different than those, but that's the closest analog I can think of. But yeah, that process was still collaborative, even though I was calling a lot of the shots. I still would send cues off for approval from the director.
So why should the audience come out and see this movie next week? What's your expectation for their experience? Or
I think it's my hope in any art that whether I'm a creator of the piece of art or whether I'm going to enjoy art, whether it's a painting or a picture or a film, or music. To me, the greatest thing about art is it challenges you to view yourself or the world around you differently. I think that's what makes art art, right? It's making you think about yourself and the world and how you view yourself, how you view the world, your place in the world. I think that's what good art does. It makes us think. And so I hope that's what this film does. I mean, we'll find out. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be arrogant and say this is going to change your outlook on yourself or the world. I hope it does. I wrote it is a deeply personal story for me. I wrote it for me because that's what it did for me. I hope it does that for people who view it as well. So if you come out to the Chinese Theater in Hollywood next week, I hope you see it and it makes you feel some kind of way.
and that's Through the Stars at the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood, August 11th through the 20th.
Yes,
So
and our specific showtime is the 15th, during
15th.
the August 15th during the 2:30 block is when our film shows.
Okay.
And you can buy tickets online at hollyshorts.com. I think it's $20 gets you in to go see the whole block that our film plays within.
Okay. And to wrap up the show, um, how can our audience keep in touch with you, social media or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm the most active on Instagram, I would say, out of everything. My handle's Ryan Marth Music, but you can always just Google me. Just Google Ryan Marth film composer. You'll find me everywhere that you prefer.
Right.
But yeah, that's the easiest way to find me.
And
And and on Spotify or Apple Music too,
yes.
if you want to stream the music, I'd love for you to stream the Through the Stars soundtrack. It was a lot of fun making that score. I had a great music department. Andrew Jocelyn was my orchestrator. He's a really great orchestrator and musician. He's done a lot of work with Macklemore and Ryan Lewis and
Oh, wow.
all kinds of great people. Josh Newman, who played cello on that, he plays I think for Brandy Carlisle. Anyway, a lot of great people put their hands on this score.
I'm
I don't want to
impressed.
take all the
I'm
credit for it myself. It was a team
yeah.
effort, like anything else music wise that we're talking about, collaboration. A film composer is only as good as his or her music department, and I had a great music department on this score. And Nate Furtado mixed it, did a great job mixing it. Amy Dragon at Telegraph Mastering in Portland, Oregon, she mastered it. Anyway, great team. Great team that worked on this score. So you can listen to that anywhere you listen to music. If you don't have Apple Music or Spotify, you can just type it in on YouTube and listen to it on YouTube, anywhere you want.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and I hope your movie does amazing. This is the Insight Plug. Destiny Hop signing out.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm really impressed. That's a lot of cool stuff. And I
Thank
like
you.
the studio. Oh, I'm very impressed.
Oh, thank you so much.
Man.
I appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Destiny.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You too.